At Clackamas Fire, we are always here for you. We value our people and people we serve. Our focus is establishing teams. Teams stand for trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. The regular monthly meeting of Clackamas Fire District number 1 Board of Directors will now come to order at 5 p.m. per ORS 192.610 to 192.690. Per ORS 192.650, the meeting is being recorded. The video recording of this meeting will be placed on the Clackamas Fire website. Chief Brown, is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there's one small change, Thomas, to the agenda, and that would be underneath R1, or no, R1G. No, where is it? Shop Steward Gordian. It's Shop Steward Gordian, R1F. I was right the first time. I apologize. R1F, Shop Steward Gordian had just left the fire officer training in our organization and was worried about getting onto the meeting in enough time. And I just told him to go on ahead and head to work and that he can report out next month. So there will be no report from the shop steward to this board meeting.
Thank you so much. The board minutes from April 18th, 2022. Does any of the board members have any comments or changes to share on the minutes? None. I see none from anybody. There are no changes to the meeting minutes. The minutes from the regular board meeting on April 18, 2022 stand approved as written. I will now call for statements from the citizens regarding the district business. Ariel, did we have anybody sign up to provide public comments?
We did not.
Since there is nobody, we will move on with the next item. Is Genoa in the audience for report?
Yes, she is. I'm moving her over right now.
Okay. So Genoa, would you please give us an update on what's going on with the legislative?
Sorry, it took me a moment to join as a panelist. Good evening. So there's not a lot going on right now legislatively, other than we're heavily involved in the campaign season. I did want to let you know that the groups that were formed by Representative Evans and other legislators, including the disaster preparedness and the firefighter capacity, do continue to meet. The firefighter capacity one is one I've been most involved in. And at the last meeting, they were talking about any hindrances to fire districts with regard to helping them do a better job, helping them respond, helping them attract and retain volunteers. We got into a discussion about budgets. And one of the things that I asked to put on the wish list for discussion was the impact that some programs such as urban renewal, et cetera, have on firefighter capacity, and the fact that they have to take that should take that into consideration when trying to figure out how best to strengthen our fire districts. So I've had discussions with Chief Brown and about this, and I just wanted to let all of you know that it is on the radar, that legislators are very much aware of the impact of these programs on your capacity to respond. And then some of your volunteer members have asked me to remind you that the OVFA conference is scheduled for June 9th through 12th in Hermiston. If you look on our website, there's a complete brochure and all of the courses that are being offered. Rick Lasky will be the keynote speaker. And not to stray too far from the legislative agenda, I have asked legislators or invited legislators to come and sit in and monitor some of those courses, because part of what they're talking about in these meetings is the type of training that's available, what type of training volunteers have to adhere to. And I've invited them at no cost to them to come over and monitor a few of those courses at no charge, obviously. So we're trying to blend those efforts together, keep it at the forefront. I do anticipate legislation being drafted as early as September, and we'll have drafts for you, but I want to make sure that your issues are kept at the forefront. So that's all I have for this evening. I'm happy to answer questions. I do have another meeting, a board meeting at 7. So I'll be around till then.
Does any board members have questions for Genova? Nobody? Genova, during this election day week, anybody even at Salem at all?
Keep in mind that the building is scheduled to close for about 2 years, starting July 1st. And so most of the legislators and other officers have moved out of the building. The governor is going to be in the state library on the 2nd floor. I was just on the 2nd floor today and saw where that space will be. Legislative administration is also moving across the street, I believe, into labor and industries, but pretty much the building is going to be closed until probably 2025. They're actually raising the building a foot.
Oh, wow.
And then they're putting in a new, what's currently being called the basement is being called the concourse. There will be a number of hearing rooms added. The coffee shop is being removed, and I understand there will be quite a nice restaurant that will go into the concourse area. Also, for those of you who have been to the Capitol and you're familiar with the Galleria area, they're not in the rotunda when you first walk in with the big gold seal, but as you walk back toward the hearing rooms, there's going to be some new staircases, open staircases that go down into the concourse. So look for big things, but your building will be closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Nice to see you, Genova. Thank you for coming. Executive committee meeting had a executive committee.
Hello? Thomas?
I do not see him on the screen. I think we lost him.
Okay, well, maybe he'll come back on. I'm going to give the board committee liaison report from the executive committee kind of in 2 parts. OB2, and then after Director Haas gives his report, then OB3 will talk about the chief's review. So the executive committee has met twice, first on April 28th and second on May 12th. And the non-review items, we talked about briefly about the C800 update, which the chief gave us, and there'll be more on that probably later in the fall. And then the chief also updated us on the task force, which I'm sure for future funding streams, which I think Director Haas is probably going to talk about next. Finally, he gave us a thumbnail update on the strategic plan, the organizational priorities and strategies that are in the works, and how that's coming together. And our normal update on that plan is in the early fall, and he's expecting that to be on time. So that's it for the non-annual chief review elements. That's all we talked about. So Thomas.
Thank you, Marilyn. And again, thank you for stepping in without missing a beat as soon as I disappear with my Wi-Fi challenges. I really appreciate it. It's nice to have a backup plan. So and without a plan, she steps in and take care of it. Thank you.
Sure.
And most of you remember, we have established a task force for future funding streams. And Director Haas, Andrew Gordian, and Chief or Brian Stewart, who's meeting?
Chief Dieters.
Oh, Steve Dieters. Okay, my bad. Okay, so those three have been meeting and discussing. Director House, I know it's too premature, but do you have anything to update or any comments you'd like to make?
I'll just do a, kind of a high level overview, Thomas, as we discussed the other day. We've now met 3 times. The first time it was just Chief Brown, Chief Dieters, myself, and Andrew Gordian from Local 1159. And we kind of discussed where we are, where we need to get to, and how we might possibly get there. In the 2 subsequent meetings, we have brought in people with basically strategic ideas. We've brought in Dan Mulick for kind of an operational overview to answer those kind of questions of what we need might look like. We've had Mark Whitaker come in to give us some financial, kind of the same thing, where we are, where we might need to be. And we're kind of working on finalizing our recommendations, which we'll be bringing to the board at the work session on June 7th. I think we have it scheduled. I guess what I would say at this point is I have been frankly stunned at the amount of progress we've made. It's been a very focused group. It's been a great discussion. I would have said that if in 3 months we could have gotten to where we are, we were probably making good progress. And we did it in 3 weeks and 3 meetings. We've had really good input from everybody. And I think we're getting some good ideas, and a way forward is becoming clear. So I think we're going to meet again prior to the work session to kind of finalize our recommendations. But it has been a great process so far, a very collaborative effort from everyone, and all involved have been great to deal with. So back to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Chris. Do any of the directors have any questions for Chris or Steve? Okay, hearing none. The board informational update, annual fire chief evaluation process. Once again, Director Wall, come to my rescue.
Thank you, Thomas. As you all know, as hard as it is to believe, it's been a year that Chief Brown has been at the helm of the district, and so it's time for his review. Because we hadn't done reviews in a couple of years due to the departure of retired Chief Charlton, we were looking around for what process we're supposed to use, and the board is, of course, the party that will set that process. And so the executive committee met with the chief, as I said, twice, to go over what would be useful to him. How will our feedback to him be best presented so that he feels that he has learned something from us, if there's anything to learn, which is maybe questionable. But so Chief Brown had then went away from the meeting after the initial meeting and sent back to the board, to the executive committee, a format that he feels that for this year he would be comfortable with. This does not mean this is the permanent form, that we will never change it, that we'll always do it that way. It is simply for this particular first year evaluation. And the key element of that is that at this time, the input would come solely from the board of directors, whereas we anticipate at the chief's request that in subsequent years, there'll probably be some sort of modified 360 type of review. But for this year, the proposal is for the board to have input. Some of you may have access to Jot Note that Ariel sent, which is the requested evaluation format and questions or categories of performance that would like to occur. The proposed process is for the board to respond on the Jot Note, and that those responses to be collected by Ariel and then disseminated to the board. And then the board would meet in executive session before the next board meeting with the chief and to go over them with him, and then present the findings in the public meeting that follows. So this set of standards is not exactly meshing with the chief's contract, because you keep in mind the chief does have a contract, and it does have things set out as to what the review standards will be. But this is his proposal, and I am willing to agree to that. If he's okay with it, I don't need to, I'm not hung up on what his contract says. I would like to point out one particular thing, and that is that his current contract has a particular salary level, and those of you who read the budget might notice that it's exactly the same. So the chief, unlike everybody else, is not receiving any sort of increase in his salary. And that's currently not on the table. He's not requesting one. It's in the budget at the current, what his current rate is, because he never collected his current rate. He has been paid for his first year at less than his contract rate at his request. So it's not that we screwed up, but so it's that's the proposal at this time. The board is charged with setting this process, like I said, and then at the next meeting, we would actually do the reviews. So have at it, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Jay or Jim and Chris, do you have any comments or questions? Jim, did you say no? Okay, Jim, go ahead.
It sounds great to me. There were a lot of reasons last time that we were pushed and asked to do a 360 evaluation and include, where I don't think that it's necessarily necessary this time. So it sounds great to me. I glanced through what was sent the other day, and I think we're right on track, in my opinion.
Thank you. Jay?
Yeah, I just want to know, what day is that? Do we need to get that back to Ariel by?
Ariel?
I believe that this was just the draft for you guys to review.
Okay.
And then if there were any changes, then it would be sent out with a deadline for when it needed to be completed.
Got it. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Chris, do you have any questions, sir?
No, I read through it, and I thought it pretty well addressed everything we might possibly need to. Well crafted and directed and focused, and so I'm fine with it as it's done.
Great. Thank you all. Division and department reports. Office of the Fire Chief, Chief Brown.
Thank you, Thomas. The reports are submitted. I do have one small little thing I'd like to highlight here, and that's Brandon Paxton, Chief Paxton. Tonight is Chief Paxton's last board meeting with us. He will be last day with us is the 18th, this Wednesday. And I just want to take a second to thank Brandon for his years of service with the Clackamas Fire family and for the Clackamas Fire family. I don't know if everybody knew that Brandon, he began his career as an explorer in 1999. He then went from being an explorer onto the volunteer ranks, and then was hired with us full-time in 2005. Brandon has truly been the face of the fire district through some very trying times, leading through the ice storms, the wildfires in 2020, and helping. A lot of people I don't think recognize this either. He helping with Portland Fire with the civil unrest that was occurring in the city. He was there on the front lines trying to help our neighboring department to the north. I don't think words can express the impact and gratitude that we have as an organization and that he's had on this organization. Thank you just quite frankly, doesn't seem to be enough. But I'm super grateful that I had the opportunity to serve side by side with Brandon over these years, and to get to know him personally and his family and as a friend. I'm happy for him and Lindsay, and the fact that they're prioritizing family in this next adventure he's going to take in life. And I just want to let him know we love him, and we're sad to see him go, but so happy for him and his family. So with that, I just would like to say thanks to Brandon.
Anybody else have any comments, anything to share? Chris?
Yeah, I would just like to mention, during the fires of 2020, has it really been that long ago? As some of you know, I also sit on the Sunrise Water Board, and because we had people who thought that it would be helpful to water their driveways, they were driving down supplies terribly, and we weren't quite sure what to do because we didn't have a contact that we could deal with to get the message out. And I was able, because I knew Brandon, I was able to call Brandon and say, Brandon, could you please tell people to stop watering their asphalt so we have drinking water, and you guys will actually have water to put out a fire if it's necessary. And I got a call from our general manager at Sunrise about 15 minutes later, and he said, they just announced at the latest press conference to people stop using water. How did that happen? And I said, well, I know somebody. So it was great to have that contact. Brandon did great work for us, not just the fire department, but for the community as a whole. And Brandon, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and good luck with the rest of your life and the rest of your world. And come back and see an old guy once in a while.
I will. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
Jim?
So I'm the only one on the call that was at Beaver Creek when little Rex Putnam High School, Brandon's mom would drop him off at the Beaver Creek station because he couldn't drive yet when he was an explorer. So a lot of years, and you've done a good job, Brandon, over the years, and we'll miss you. So congratulations.
Thank you,
Anybody
Jim. I
else?
actually probably got to pay my mom back some gas money.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You may have to pay me a month. Marley?
Thank you, Thomas. Oh, yeah, I can say that there were innumerable meetings, most of them at night, that Brandon had to attend, and was always his usual calm, collected, charming self. And I know that some of the bond measures and other financial things that we passed were because Brandon was willing to hit the pavement, if you will, go to all these meetings and tell people why the funds were needed. And he's been a great asset to this district, and I hope that he stays in touch with us, and wish him the best.
Brandon, you know, when I think of you, I think of Clackamas Fire as a youthful, energetic, charming face on the media, and continue to spread the good word about what we do, how we do. And I know you are an entrepreneur by nature, so I know you have a bright future. And please remember this group of people who are with you and will be with you. And all the best to you. Jay?
So something that some of you may not be aware of is that when we were putting together the process for hiring a new fire chief, when Chief Charlton was getting ready to retire, we needed some help because the way we had set up the process is that we made all of the chief officers eligible to take the test. And so there was no chief officers in the district that were able to help us put together a test or a process for hiring a new fire chief. And so I will tell you that Chief Charlton, along with Brandon, played a huge role in putting together the process that we ultimately used to for the chief selection process this last go around. So he is very talented, including his immeasurable work that he even did with something as putting together that program as well. So Brandon, thank you. And also I will tell you, it was an opportunity for me personally to get to know Brandon a little bit through that process as well, because we got to spend multiple meetings, chatting about things, and his input on that process was invaluable. So once again, buddy, nice job. Outside of your normal work stream that you did for the district, you also went out of your way to just help the fire district be better. So thank you once again, Brandon. You're going to be missed. So.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. And I guess we'll see what Chief Brown's eval looks like before you go on thanking me about how well that process turned out. So that set aside, thank you all very much. It's been truly an honor to speak on the district's behalf and you as the board and work so closely over the years. So thank you for the trust you placed in me, and we'll definitely always remember being here and hold a special place in my heart. So thank you guys very much, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Health and Safety Chief, Chief Goodrich. Will you give a health and safety update, please?
I will. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to say I'll miss Brandon as well. He has been integral to our program as a peer fitness trainer. He was the lead of our fitness committee, and he is a peer supporter. And I'm happy to say he's going to stay on the peer support team. We have some of our retirees, and then I have Brandon Paxton, quitter instead of retiree, but he's still on the team, and we're excited to keep him here. And my highlight of this month is last month, we were able, through the peer support team, to offer 2 classes to our firefighters taught by a culturally competent mental health professional for new parents. We have had a baby boom at the fire district. I think you've seen some of those health insurance numbers, and part of that is our baby boom. And being a firefighter, being married to a firefighter, which I can attest to, can be difficult with a new little one. And so we brought in a mental health professional that offered a class. We did a weekend night and then a Saturday, and the feedback was really positive. We've done couples communication classes in the past, but this one was our parenting class, and we'll continue to do that in the future. So that's my highlight for this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Does any of the directors have any questions for her? Okay. Hearing none, Assistant Chief Stewart will now give an update from the Office of Strategic Services.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. And as far as the Chief's eval goes, I think if Brandon had been participating in the process, it might have been someone else getting evaluated. But we're excited that Nick's got the slot, and congratulations, Brandon. We're excited for you. In terms of strategic services, just a few things to cover. The first part, Gladstone Fire. Of course, you folks ratified the agreement last month, and then we started working swiftly on the transition. Since then, Chief Carlson may have a few more updates for you, but high level stuff is we settled on a June 1st start date, so we won't be transitioning for full services prior to that, nor after that. That'll be the day. But in the meantime, we did have the opportunity to cover their station the first few days of this month, and they are looking at their staffing, and we may need to cover a few additional days. Of course, that's all supported by the agreement for that. So that's been a positive thing, and we're working on the communication plan with the city administrator, and we'll be looking forward to the joint oversight committee and making sure that process is smooth. From the IT world, this few weeks ago, Oscar attended the Oregon Digital Government Summit. It was hosted by the state. And had the opportunity to focus on a couple of things at that place, not just cybersecurity, but also equity and access, which for us is important when we look about and think about the communities that we serve, and how do we provide access to them to what we do for their input and transparency. And he's currently focusing on making sure that we have a mobile and resilient workforce, doing some planning through the budget process with Mark Whitaker, and looking at moving more of our processes into mobile devices, laptops, MDCs, those types of things. And then from a planning section piece, Matt Amos has been leading the charge and preparing us for the next ISO visit. We haven't been through this as a team for the last 5 years. I think they last came out in late 2017. We had a lot of different people in positions. So he's preparing for that, looking at a bunch of data, working with Chief Mulick, and working with ISO repeatedly on that piece. And those are the updates I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Any other directors have questions or concerns? Share with Chief Stewart. Okay. Division Chief Carlson, will you now give us support services update, please?
You bet. Thank you, sir. Captain Jim Searing at Station 29 hired me to be the Explorer Scout coordinator way back in 1998, 99. And that's when I first met Brandon. Super great guy. And look at us now. Onward and upward, Gladstone. I want you to go back to 1992 and picture me with a lot more red hair at Gladstone High School, class of 94. Can't wait to hear the fire alarm go off so I can see the fire engine pull up. Gave me little prickles. Fast forward to being a volunteer. I think a lot of times we were training with Gladstone. There always been talk of us joining, and that never happened. And look at what's happening today. So luckily, my division is a significant part of the preparation and transition for that. I'd say we're probably about 30 to 40 hours into this process from planning and implementation. It's everything from coordinating run cards with CCOM. We just finished last Tuesday about 10 hours of inventorying from top to bottom. That was a lot of work. And it wasn't just my division. We had a total of 14 people, including 3 chiefs, come and help us. And it was counting everything from staplers to uniform shirts to fire engines. So that's pretty exciting. I think we can assure you as our board that we are compliant with the contract. We're excited for June 1st. I think it's going to be a very simple process. Having watched everything else, there's a big difference between a city and a district. I can tell you with all the stuff that we're inventorying, we're probably going to get rid of some of the stuff. We literally say, City of Gladstone, here you go. It's the end of the story. That makes it very, very easy for us. We're doing a lot of outreach to the firefighters and the officers. I think everybody's excited. It's good teamwork. And that pretty much leads us to where we're at. We'll try to send out a picture of the fire engines and how they're looking for the livery. And Chief Stewart can explain what that word means. Yeah, that's about all we got. We're pretty excited. And we're happy
Any
for
questions?
What's that, Director Thomas?
Any questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, moving on. Assistant Chief Dieters will give an update from the Office of Business Services.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. And just 2 things to talk about before I turn it over to Chief Whiteley. We'll be having a special meeting of the Civil Service Commission on Wednesday, where we'll be asking them to certify the entry-level list that we have from the process we had last month. So we'll be taking that to them. And then the feasibility study between Clackamas and Sandy, we have finished the technical review and returned that back to AP Triton. So we'll be working through some of those edits with them and hopefully getting a finished product and get the presentation scheduled for sometime this summer. I'll keep you updated on that. But that's all I have really for updates, and I'll turn it over to Chief Whiteley.
Thank you, Steve. Chief Whiteley.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to share this evening. There's a couple things, updates with regards to community, and I knew a call would come in, sorry. I'm sitting here at Station 10, stand by. Oh, I got this one, I'll be back. Just kidding. All right, sorry about that. I knew that was going to happen. So to give you a few updates regarding community services, just true to form, I got to say something about Brandon. Just keep it simple. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate all the years working together. We've worked together closely for about a decade now, and I appreciate all that time together. So thank you. Okay, there we go. All right. Again, I apologize for that. The volume doesn't work here for that. So with regards to community services, a lot going on right now for a variety of reasons as we see COVID restrictions change, not to mention weather changing, getting to more what would be spring and summer events. We're getting a lot of requests coming in from the community to be able to participate in stuff. So we're excited for that opportunity. On top of that, May is Wildfire Preparedness Month. Obviously, that's kind of a topic that's been near and dear to us for now almost 2 years, though we always try to focus on it. It continues to be probably a greater focus than it has in years past. For this month, we partnered with Clackamas County. They're doing a series of these wildfire preparedness events throughout the county. We've agreed to host 2 of them. Last Tuesday was the first one, and the second one is tomorrow out at Eagle Creek. So in this case, similar to the events we did last summer, where it was mostly us hosting, but we did bring some guests in. The county is facilitating for the most part. We're emceeing, but they have most of the speakers, and we're playing a smaller role other than hosting. So again, the second of those will be tomorrow night out at Eagle Creek. Other stuff going on is just start planning on larger events for
summer, whether it's safety fairs, different types of stuff like that, plus with partnering with Gladstone. We'll be meeting with Chief Huffman soon to make sure that we understand the events that have happened there in the past to partner on those as well. Those are just some basic highlights moving forward. With Brandon's departure, his staff is coming to work with me, so I'm excited for that opportunity, and you'll hear more about that in the coming months. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, Doug, what time is that thing tomorrow night at Eagle Creek?
It is, it starts at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? I don't know, Nick and the rest of the directors, you saw that there's a chat message, please read from Ariel. Chief CFO, Mark Whitaker, would you give an update from the Office of Financial Services, sir?
Sure. Good evening, directors. I'll keep this pretty brief. I think everybody probably heard enough of me last week at the budget committee meeting. And once again, thanks to everyone for making that go so smoothly. The financial report is on page 17 of the packet. We're still monitoring expenses. There's nothing out of the ordinary, beyond the budget issues we've already covered. June's board meeting will have substantially more finance items. So we'll have to adopt the 22-23 budget. We'll likely have to approve a supplemental budget for 2021-22 to ensure there aren't any over expenditures in any program areas. And then hopefully there'll also be a business item in June to approve a contract for a new auditor. So we did issue an RFP last month for auditing services, and hopefully we'll get some proposals back in the next couple of weeks and be able to select someone for that service. So I think that's it for me, unless there's any questions.
Mark, were you able to reach out to the broader area for auditors rather than just the one we had before?
Yeah, we sent the RFP, we advertised it in a couple different places. And then Michael Wong, our finance manager, sent out direct emails to pretty much every auditor in the area that's on the state's municipal auditor list. So hopefully with that wide reach, we get some good responses.
But also, I want to thank you for the simplified version of that budget proposal that you presented. It was very easy I got a lot of positive comments about how well it was presented by you and Michael. I want to thank both of you and the crew with that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none. Division Chief Dan Mulick, please give an update on operations.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. Just a quick update on Crew 30. They are, I had mentioned it before, they're all assembled. They're out in training and working through some prescription burns. Just happened to be the first of the month during the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association meeting in Bend that our crew was out in the Sisters area doing prescription burns, burned about 350 acres. And every fire chief in the state had their eye on them as Clackamas Fire rigs were driving around Central Oregon. It was really cool. It just showed the advancement of that program over the last couple of years and the attention that it's been getting. So kudos to Chief Brent Olson for spearheading that. It's just been an outstanding program. Today is a great day at the training center. We started day one of Recruit Academy 2201. This is 10 lateral entry firefighters that come to us from all over the country, a lot of them from scattered about departments in Oregon. It is, I believe, just on first guess, we have about 120 years of experience that just rolled through the door this morning. So it's absolutely awesome. In conjunction with that, the training department is hosting a Fire Officer 1 class. We have 27 students that are in that class that are aspiring company officers in our organization. If every one of them takes a promotional test coming up this summer, that might set a record for the number of candidates we have for a lieutenant's exam. 2 weeks prior, there was the Apparatus Operator Academy in preparation for a promotional test after the first of the year, and we had 14 individuals go through that. including the two firefighters that are going to come over from the city of Gladstone. So that was just it sounded like an outstanding class. If you look in the board packet, the news release that our staff put together on the CCOM exercise, there's a photo of life flight with a bunch of our crews. We did the training division and PIO's office set up a pretty much like an educational scenario for our partners with CCOM and with life flight, and to get to kind of get some exposure for what it's like with being boots on the ground on a scenario with the heavy extrication, transporting a patient, landing life flight. So we did that. The training center had that going on the 25th and 28th of April. It was a pleasure to see that and the collaboration there and the excitement amongst the dispatchers. This last week, we received a signed contract back from OSFM for joining State Team 3 for the hazmat, for the regional hazmat team. So Clackamas Fire is going to be a partner with Gladstone Fire and with the support and response in the region for hazmat response. So that is a huge move. That has been a work in progress. I just want to give kudos to Chief Palmer, Captain Kilgrass, and Chief Carlson, just getting this program off the ground and the execution all the way to the end. So this is a great thing. It's an improvement in service delivery to our organization. It's an opportunity for our to build the skill level of our response in Clackamas County. So it's an outstanding thing. And then Gladstone Fire, obviously, Chief Stewart had mentioned it, but I just want to throw out that we promoted Lieutenant Mike Bauer, effective today, is going to be the captain of Gladstone. For those of you who don't know Captain Bauer, he has worked a long time with the boat program out of Station 8 and Station 19. He is the right person for the job. He absolutely is killing it. And he's going to work out of the Gladstone building for the next 2 weeks to help staff and get prepared for the June 1 contract. So if you see Captain Bauer, congratulate him. He is already just doing an outstanding job. And lastly, just to wrap up operations, we've had a transition period in the last couple of weeks. Chief Santos has been reclassified to a battalion chief. He's going to work as a line battalion chief, and we're going to transition a new EMS medical services chief into his old position. So as the Gladstone transition takes place, as Chief Santos is transitioning back to the line, there's just going to be, he's going to kind of hold on to that title for a bit until that transition's done. So if you see Chief Santos, please thank him for all the years and just the endless efforts into medical services. And we got big shoes to fill. And even though he's a small little guy, they're big shoes to fill. And we're going to take this program and continue to advance forward. So that kind of sums up operations. I'd love to answer any questions if you have them.
Anyone? Questions, comments? Hearing none. Volunteer Association Interim President, Jerry Carney. Would you give an association update, sir? You are muted, Jerry.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Great. Sorry about that, Mr. President and members of the board. First, I'd like to give you the drill topics for the month. They were ladder deployment, primary search process, and ventilation process. And the EMS drill was on EMS documentation. The station coverage for station 12 was 30 out of 30, 13 was 14 out of 30. For the rehab volunteers, I don't have it broken down by station. However, we had a total of 34 full-time equivalent nights or day shifts covered by the support volunteers. That's out of a possible 30. So we had some nights when there were more than one on. Chief Dieters reminded me recently that it'd be a good idea once in a while to give you folks something other than numbers, and I'm going to be doing that tonight. First is two volunteers recently competed in the USA High School, competed in mentoring and proctoring the USA High School Firefighter competition, which Clackamas Fire hosted on April 15 and 16. Happy to say that one of the competitors in that went on, he's not from Clackamas, he's from Silverton. He went on to now represent the state at the national level. The two volunteers that were involved in that were Jason Elliott and Jonathan Kowalski. Also, I participated in a rather lengthy conference call with the Governor's Fire Service Policy Council, and we'll be participating in another one next month. And on a side note, I would like to add something regarding Chief Paxton's presence and his departure. He has been the host at almost every Emergency Services Foundation event that we have had. And I sit at a table of 10 people. And I can honestly tell you that of those 10 people, I have never heard one say anything different than he ought to be a TV host. And he comes across so smooth, so wonderfully. I would commend that as perhaps a side job for you, Brendan. That's all I have. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions.
Anyone has any questions? No? Jerry, thank you so much. Appreciate it. The board package included correspondence, informational items. And the next board of directors meeting will be on Monday, June 27th. Now, if I understand correctly, 4:15 will be the executive session and 5 o'clock regular board meeting. Ariel, could you correct me?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And now we will have a short executive session. So the regular board meeting is recessed at 5:47 p.m. Board members, see the chat in the chat section. Ariel sent out a note that Tracy had to create a new link for our executive session. So please sign out of this and come back into it, and then we will come back to this session again. Thank you.
Thank you.
How did Marilyn beat us? She's so quick.
I have, excuse me.
Oh, she's got two computers.
She has two computers, and so
okay, that got
she
you.
just has to close the lid on one and lift the lid on the other.
That makes sense. That
I
makes
think
sense.
that's awesome. She uses her computer and her husband's computer. I think that's the way to go, man. That's just good thinking right there. Redundancy, the Department of Redundancy department right there. And then there's Thomas.
I'm looking, I see Chris he's about to get transferred over. We're just waiting on Thomas.
You know, Steve, even for those few minutes, I find I really missed you.
You know, Chris, you should work for Hallmark, you know, since that motivational speaking's not working out so much.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm schizophrenic and so am I. I've been working on my sincerity. Are you saying you're not buying it yet?
No, not just yet. Not
All
just
right.
yet.
Because you know, if you can fake sincerity, you can pretty well do anything.
That's right.
Ariel, will you circle up with Thomas and see if he's having trouble logging back in?
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
Oh, here he is.
I see him.
Oh, perfect.
Too many emails, too many meetings. The regular Board of Directors meeting will now reconvene at 5:56 p.m. The board met in an executive session to discuss labor contract negotiations. No decisions were made in an executive session. Nick, anything, do we need to take a vote?
I would just ask that the board approve and ratify the contract for local 1159 Battalion Chief Bargaining Group. That's I believe the verbiage that I need to say to you.
Does that require a vote, Marilyn?
What, Thomas?
Do we need to take a vote on the approval of the contract negotiation?
Well, we do.
Yeah.
The question is whether we can when it hasn't been on the announced agenda.
Oh,
And the chief said didn't amend the agenda at the beginning. So I mean, that my only question, whether the absence of it being on the agenda so that the public had the opportunity to input is a good idea. Is there some reason it needs to be done this month?
We've delayed this. I don't think financially. No, it doesn't.
So
How did we miss that?
the better part of valor is to put it on the agenda for next month.
I have to agree with Marilyn on that. Since it's not on the agenda, it makes it a little bit complicated.
okay.
It doesn't take effect till July 1st anyway, does it? So
correct.
June.
Well,
Okay.
it would take effect July 1st of last year.
Last year, 2021.
There are no terms in the agreement that affect pay scales or retro pay. There was one term of the agreement that affected the ability of the battalion chiefs to I can't change trade days or flex days. I can't remember quite what it was. But at this point, that's no, we went ahead and provide that ability to them since the agreement was well underway.
To follow the proper protocol, let's do it next month's meeting.
Okay, just real quickly, looking at the agenda from when we asked for the board to approve the local the firefighters bargaining
last month,
we followed the exact same agenda as that one in this. So I came out of executive session and asked for there to be a vote, and we voted as a board on it. Then we literally copied the same agenda item as we did in October when we did the firefighters.
Yeah, I think the question would be, was it if the board had planned on voting on it or not? If it was a planned agenda item or business item, then it should have been announced in part of the agenda. If the board was considering it under executive session and waiting to see if they had or what questions there would be.
Yes.
Before making it an agenda item, I think that's where we were at last time. Is we weren't sure that it was going to be an agenda item because we didn't know if the board had questions, and I think that's why we went back to executive session this time, was to clarify that.
That's exactly
what's your pleasure, friends, fellow directors? What's your pleasure?
Well, even Chris.
I'll just let somebody else
Well, just because we did it, if we did it incorrectly last time, doesn't mean you should do it wrong again.
I get it. I'm just saying we followed the same process as last
Yeah.
time.
You know what, Marilyn, I
I'm
was,
not being critical, I'm just saying, okay, so it slipped by last time, but let's do it right this time.
Marilyn, that's exactly what I was gonna say, and somehow you and I have got that, you know.
I tell you,
thing
Jay,
going
it's
on there.
getting creepy.
I know.
Did we lose Chris?
Yeah, he just sent me a text saying his computer crashed. He'll try to get back on.
Okay, that's okay.
Now that we lost him, I think we have to wait, right? I mean, we want him to vote on this.
Yeah,
So
all right, I get paid the same.
a quick question, is there an opportunity for the work session in June 7th to mark, or is that something that can't be voted on in a work session?
No,
Not
work sessions, we can't pass.
That's right,
stuff
no
at work
action items out of
sessions.
work
I
session.
mean,
sorry.
unless we reclassify it as a board meeting. I mean,
No,
we can, yeah, that's the struggle. We,
Or you can have a board meeting right before it or right after it.
yeah, we can do that too, Nick. We can actually have a regular board meeting.
With one agenda item.
We can do
okay,
that.
maybe what we'll do, just so that we can get the contract signed and they start their process and getting all the signatures on it, that way it takes an effect by July 1. Ariel, let's just add a board meeting after the work session. Or before it, actually probably preferably before it. We'll do that. We'll create a board meeting at, let's call it 12:55. Does that work for everybody? Or we'll just do it at 1 o'clock and then right after that, we go into the work session.
Yeah, I think that's the simplest thing, is do a 1 o'clock board meeting and then a board meeting and then immediately after go into the work session.
Okay.
So,
All right, I'll let the battalion chief group know. And appreciate that. Good catch, Marilyn. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I missed it last time.
That's on me. So thank you so much.
Well, with that, is there any other comments or questions for good of the order from anybody? Hearing none, the regular Board of Directors meeting is now adjourned at 6:02 p.m.
wow.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night,
Night.
everybody.